Hi, my name is Lester and I'm a product manager in Sage Intacct. In this video, I'd like to show you how to create a budget using the new Sage Intacct budgeting and planning product. As our user, often the first step that you take in the app is creating a new budget, and that will be the focus of the demo. For Sage Intacct customers, the most recommended way to build a new budget is to use our integration with Sage Intacct. To start a new budget, I'm going to go to my budget menu and click on New Budget. So I'm going to use my Sage Intacct data option that you have selected here by default. And you can switch to any of the other methods here and then click Next. Now I'll sign in with my company credentials. So I need my company ID, my user ID, and my password. And these are my budget settings. So these are pre-populated according to my Sage Intacct company, but I can edit them here if I need, or I can continue and then edit them later from my budget settings. I will name my budget Stream Studio 2019 and keep the budget type company. You can also select between a company budget and a non-profit budget. The non-profit budget will have a different vocabulary and different budget line templates, which I'll explain later. I will keep the date range here as 1 year, but any date range is supported. Let's click Next. And my next step is deciding on my budget structure. The best practice will be to create a budget which reflects my management structure or the budget ownership structure, to put this otherwise. In my company, revenue is managed by location, and each location has a manager who's responsible for the location's revenue targets. So I will select to create my revenue budget by location, and then afterwards I will be able to share each location budget with the relevant manager. And this drop down here shows me all the dimensions that I have in my company, including user-defined ones. Select by location here. If my dimension has a hierarchy, the second drop down will allow me to select to budget by the top level of the dimension hierarchy or the lowest level of the hierarchy. I'm going to stay with the summary level. My expenses in this company are managed by department. So I will select to group them by department. If needed, I can also add a second dimension using the plus button to the right of the field. So you can also create more complex budget structures like by department and then by location. In this step, I have the option to import employees' data from Sage Intacct. And we import all the active employees' details, which include names, roles, IDs, dimensions, start and end dates, and salary. If the employee data in my company in Sage Intacct isn't accurate or isn't full, then I can skip this step here and then later import employee information from Excel or just enter them manually into the app. In general, I always recommend adding employee data to the budget since it enables you not only to manage your headcount and salary budgets and then afterwards to report on them, but you can then also build other budget line and financial models based on your headcount plan. For example, travel costs, equipment purchases for new employees, sales commission, or any other budget item which is derived from either existing or new employees. In this step, I have the option to merge multiple accounts into a single budget line. By default, we create a budget line per GL account. And what I have here is the list of my accounts from my company. I'm going to scroll down to my travel accounts. Let's go all the way here. I have 4 of them, but I actually would like to just have one travel budget line. So I'm going to select all 4 accounts, click the merge button, name my new budget line. I'm going to name it travel, and then click apply. Now all 4 items will be in one budget line, but still connected to the GL accounts in Sage Intacct. In this step, I have the option to remove budget lines which aren't needed. And I have here a preview of my budget structure, which was built according to the selections that I've made in the previous steps. So I can delete budget lines or budget groups that I don't need. And then if I delete a line here and then I change my mind, I can always revert and bring it back into my budget. Now, also, you can make any of these changes after your budget structure is created. This is the last step of the wizard, and it gives me the opportunity to import additional dimensions data. Dimensions which I already selected for the budget structure are automatically imported. So this list only shows additional dimensions that I can import. And I will select project here. For every such dimension, we import the dimension name, the dimension values, and the dimension hierarchy, if it has one. So now this takes a few moments, and we will have our budget structure ready. The next step, once the structure is prepared, will be to add my budget data into my budget lines. Thank you for watching the video about Sage Intacct Budgeting and Planning. For more information about the product, we offer 3 courses on the Sage Intacct Learning Center website. To learn about all the features in this release, please see the 2018 Release 4 notes on your Sage Intacct homepage.